In today's video, I'll be discussing the 10 moments when Disney princesses were surprisingly relatable. Let's dive right in. Kicking off our list at number 10 is Anna's relatable bedhead moment from the hit movie Frozen. Remember those funny memes comparing Anna to other Disney princesses when they first wake up? You'd see Cinderella or Snow White looking flawless with their hair perfectly in place, while Anna wakes up with a wild, tangled mess of hair. Not only that, but Anna doesn't exactly look picture perfect when she's asleep, and she's totally confused when a palace attendant tries to wake her up. Frozen really shook up the traditional Disney movie formula, and a moment like this, showing a Disney princess in a hilariously real and relatable situation, is just what you'd expect from a modern take on a Disney princess story. Coming in at number 9, we have Snow White's totally relatable tendency to snooze wherever she can in the classic film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. After stumbling upon the dwarfs' cozy cottage in the woods, Snow White teams up with some helpful forest creatures to tidy the place up. Once everything is spick and span, she makes her way to the bedroom and promptly dozes off. Now, admittedly, catching some shut-eye in a random bed in an unfamiliar cottage might not be the smartest move, and wandering into an empty house in the first place isn't exactly wise either. But let's give Snow White some credit. She assumed the house belonged to harmless children, so she probably didn't feel like she was in any real danger. And honestly, who hasn't been so exhausted that they'd be willing to curl up and fall asleep on the first comfy spot they find? Sliding into the number 8 spot is Belle's relatable love for reading in the enchanting tale Beauty and the Beast. In the iconic Belle musical number, our book-loving heroine is strolling through her little town full of little people, with her nose buried in a book, completely oblivious to the fact that everyone around her is singing about how peculiar she is. Although she later chats with her father about the gossip, during this opening scene she doesn't seem to notice or care one bit about what the townspeople think. When the song reaches its grand finale, Belle turns around as if she's only just now realizing there's a whole chorus of people behind her. That's the power of a good book. It can transport you to another world and make everything else fade away. Securing the number 7 spot is Moana's relatable habit of practicing her speech for Maui in the heartwarming movie Moana. As Moana embarks on her quest to find Maui and enlist his help in saving her island from the devastating blight, she spends her time rehearsing how she'll introduce herself to the demigod. She repeats the same phrase over and over again to herself or her trusty sidekick, "Hey, I am Moana of Motunui. You will board my boat, sail across the sea, and restore the heart of Te Fiti." It's like she's preparing for a super important job interview or a nerve-wracking social situation where she needs to know exactly what to say, or else everything will fall apart. We've all been there, practicing our lines in front of a mirror or running through potential conversations in our heads to make sure we're ready for the real thing. Claiming the number 6 spot is Merita's relatable frustration with the patriarchal expectations placed upon her in the empowering film Brave. Merita and her mother Eleanor often butt heads because Eleanor wants her daughter to embrace her role as the crown princess. But Merita understands that being the perfect princess comes with a lot of restrictions: getting married, limiting herself to ladylike hobbies, watching what she eats, and constantly having to hold back. As Merita's father jokingly impersonates her, he says, "I don't want to get married. I want to stay single and let my hair flow in the wind as I ride through the glen, firing arrows into the sunset." While he's poking fun, it actually sounds pretty amazing. It's easy to see why Merita feels so exhausted by the constraints of her royal role. She craves freedom and the chance to be true to herself, just like so many of us do in our own lives. Snagging the number 5 spot is Rapunzel's relatable panic attack when she finally escapes her tower in the charming movie Tangled. Rapunzel has spent her entire life dreaming of leaving her isolated tower to see the magical floating lights. But the instant her feet touch the ground, she's hit with a wave of overwhelming emotions. She alternates between excitement and terror as she grapples with the reality of what she's done. Some of her most hilarious moments include huddling in a dark cave and face planting into a patch of flowers, and she hasn't even ventured a mile away from her tower yet. Although Rapunzel's situation is unique, her reaction is something many of us can relate to. We've all experienced that mix of thrill and fear when something we've always wanted finally happens, and it's normal to freak out a little, or a lot. At number 4, we have Mulan's relatable struggle to keep up with the demands of her family and society during the honor to us all scene in the inspiring film Mulan. After showing up late, Mulan is plunged into a frigid bath and then hustled through a whirlwind of preparations as her family scrambles to get her ready for her meeting with the matchmaker. As she's shuffled between hair, makeup, and wardrobe stations, she's constantly distracted by the people around her. In her rush, Mulan forgets her parasol and has to hurry to catch up with the other young women who are also meeting with the matchmaker that day. While Mulan's situation may be specific to her cultural context, the feeling of being overwhelmed and forgetful during an important event is something we can all relate to. Who hasn't experienced that heart-sinking moment when you realize you've forgotten something crucial and have to rush to make up for lost time? Coming in at number 3 is Ariel's all-too-familiar disinterest in Sebastian's well-meaning lecture in the beloved classic The Little Mermaid. While Under the Sea is undoubtedly an iconic tune, let's not forget that it's essentially Sebastian trying to convince Ariel to forget about her human crush and her fascination with the world above the waves. As Sebastian puts on a show-stopping performance, hoping to win an Oscar for Best Original Song, Flounder quietly swims over to Ariel and whispers something in her ear. Without anyone noticing, Ariel and Flounder slip away from the spectacle. It's likely that Flounder told Ariel about an intriguing discovery waiting for her, leading to her surprise at finding Eric's statue in her grotto. But let's be real, even a minor distraction was enough for Ariel to ditch Sebastian's lecture. She was never really into it anyway. Who among us hasn't tuned out during a well-meaning but slightly boring speech or presentation? At the number 2 spot, we have Tiana's relatable determination to launch her career in the delightful film The Princess and the Frog. Tiana stands out among Disney princesses as she pursues a concrete career goal while holding down not one, but 2 jobs. Her dream is to own a restaurant where she can share her treasured recipes with the world, but first, she works tirelessly as a waitress to make ends meet. Tiana's ambitions and strong work ethic make her a highly relatable Disney princess, as many viewers may have similar aspirations or have experienced the grind of working hard to achieve their goals. Most of us have been in Tiana's shoes at some point, putting in long hours at a demanding job while dreaming of something better, bigger, and more fulfilling. Taking the top spot at number 1 is the relatable sweet tooth shared by Anna and Elsa in the heartwarming movie Frozen. In a moment of anxiety and excitement about meeting someone new, Anna does what many of us would do. She reaches for the nearest sweet treat to calm her nerves. Both Anna and Elsa share a love for chocolate, and their first meaningful connection in years is sparked by a shared appreciation for the delicious scent drifting through the palace. Although Disney princesses have become more relatable overall in recent years, it's the simple things, like a shared love of chocolate, that help viewers connect with them on a personal level.